When I first started caring for burn patients about 30 years ago, the only issue that was really addressed by the medical community was survival. And as these people began to survive, there was very little that the medical community knew about burn survivors and how they live and what their health needs were. And the LIBRE project addresses some of these issues. Never before has there been such a granular look at community participation of burn survivors and how the injury affects their ability to participate in the community.
I really wish that people would understand more that a burn injury, especially a severe burn injury, is more than just an injury of the skin. It's an injury of the entire body, of the entire psyche, of your whole life as you knew it before. We all awaken to a new normal life where everything has changed.
The doctors will now be looking at not just the physical side of the surgeries, the debridements, the skin grafts. When I was a patient, typically the doctor would come to the medical unit and say, "How's your pain level today?" There was never any talk about your mental or emotional pain level. So yes, we have the physical pain, but that goes away. So for the patient returning home now that is surviving major burns, the pain is emotional pain.
So the purpose of the assessment tool was to better understand the integration of the burn survivor into society. We've all taken the lead in the development of the LIBRE Profile, which stands for Life Impact Burn Recovery Evaluation. The LIBRE Profile attempts to measure on a yardstick or a metric how the burn survivor has integrated into society following a burn injury.
Imagine if you came into your doctor's office and you had 40 minutes with your doctor, and in that period you had to describe everything that was going on in your life, and the litany of symptoms goes on forever. And then you also had to have your dressings changed, your next surgery planned, and the dates all sorted out, and the 40 minutes is gone before you know it, and you leave the doctor's office and you forgot to talk about, for instance, sleep, or when am I going to go back to work, and all these things are important.
The burn injury affects the whole body, not only physically, but for many people, the most painful part is adjusting to their lives after the burn. And that's where the focus of interviewing burn survivors with the LIBRE project and understand what it is to go home, what it is to be intimate with a major scar, what it is to be out of work for a year or two, to deal with depression, thoughts of suicide, anger, denial, all of those social issues that affect burn survivors. So I think the direction LIBRE is going in is very, very valuable because they're looking at the entire patient, not just the physical wound.
Then when we can take these soft endpoints and turn them into numbers, we can actually optimize care by comparing one treatment or against another intervention and choosing the most effective and efficient interventions to help our patients on the path to recovery.
It will make it easier on my doctor to talk to me about the things that are really bothering me and not just treat the superficial wounds.
The LIBRE Profile was developed through the involvement of burn survivors as well as clinicians and others that have participated in understanding what is important to the burn survivor following the burn injury. We conducted focus groups. We also used current literature to understand what to ask the burn survivor when responding to questions that involve social participation.
With a patient-reported outcome measure such as LIBRE, you can take this just like an academic test beforehand, and your doctor can have a complete list of all the things that we know happen to burn survivors, and he can compare this data to what the expected values of the population are, and he can, just like a laboratory test, go through this list of symptoms and focus the conversation on areas that are important to you and areas that are deficient so that appropriate interventions can be made. And when you leave the doctor's office, then you know that the history has been thorough. LIBRE is actually an instrument or a stethoscope to take the person's medical history.
when our wounds are healed, the burn clinic knows they're not done with us yet, because we do go through these issues for a lifetime, both the physical and the social aspects.
We also can identify what support services might be available through identifying the limitations that an individual faces, and where in fact they've done very well, and providing the necessary resources or directing the resources to that individual.
I think the insight into the knowledge gathered is going to be of a phenomenal resource in helping the burn survivor going forward.